To each one of you. On behalf of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce and Capital Goods Skill Council India, we welcome each one of you to this session on stimulation precursor to automation, cyber physical automation. In time like this, we need to stay connected and stay positive. This session has been organized under the aegis of Industry 4.0 Expert Committee BCIC. We'd like to specially thank Mr. A.N. Chandramouli, past President and Chairman of Industry 4.0 Expert Committee of BCIC, and General Council member and Task Force member of Industry 4.0 of Capital Goods Skill Council India, for curating this session for the benefit of our members at this crucial period. The speakers for today's session are Mr. Harish Nachani, currently heading dietetics at Festo India and responsible for learning and training solutions. He has over 20 years of experience in sales, marketing, business development, and education segment. And the other speaker is Mr. Senthil Kumar, Assistant Manager, Industrial Training and Application, Festo India. He has over 32 years of experience in manufacturing and training domain and in core training space for more than 2 decades of training industrial workforce across multiple industry sectors at Festo. His competency and expert domain knowledge is ingrained in the areas of pneumatics, hydraulics, PLC, mechatronics, and in providing solution for industrial application. The session will be moderated by Mr. A.N. Chandramouli. On behalf of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry, Commerce and Capital Skill Council India, we express our sincere thanks to Mr. Harish Nachani, Mr. Senthil Kumar, and Mr. Jagadishan, who will also be part of this session of interactive, for accepting our invitation to address on this important subject. We would also like to thank all the participants for joining for today's session. We request all of you to kindly mute your mic or webcam options.
And
This
webcam.
and
Not
webcam. No, sometimes only one they use, sir.
No,
Okay.
that is after in the Q&A only.
Sure, sir. We request all of you to kindly mute your mic and webcam options. This is to enhance and keep the bandwidth strong as well as avoid any disturbance in the background. Please post your questions in the chat box only. Also be viewing the chat box for any specific instruction given by the organizer from time to time. The speakers will respond to the questions during the session, and in case time do not permit, we shall be sharing the queries to the speakers and shall revert back to you accordingly. Kindly note the organizers will be disconnecting those participants who switch on their mic and webcam options despite of our frequent request. May I now invite Mr. A.N. Chandramouli to inaugurate and set the context for today's subject and also moderate the session. Thanking you once again to all. Over to you, sir. Chandramouli, sir.
Thank you. If Rupa can share the screen, that will be nice. I first of all welcome all the participants today, and I thank Mr. Harish Nachani and his colleagues to conduct this very important hands-on webinar. So far, we have done many awareness workshops in the last couple of months during the Corona lockdown. The first time we are doing a hands-on workshop, which may or may not be interactive with the audience, but probably in July, August, we will do a interactive session for a couple of hours, which will have audience interaction as well with the help of such programs. Thank you, Mr. Harish, for kindly accepting. Festo is a global German leader of more than 6 to 7 decades, presence in India for more than 4 decades. And I would like to also thank Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce to give the opportunity for us to conduct these programs. And I also want to thank Capital Goods Skill Council, which is a body extended arm National Skill Development Corporation. And on this note, I would like to give you a brief introduction of Capital Goods Skill Council. You all may be able to see a presentation slide coming up. Is it visible, Mr. Prithvi, Ms. Rupa, Mr. Harish?
It says visible, so you have to make it full screen. Now it's fine.
I made
Perfect.
it full screen.
Yeah, perfect,
Okay, I'll go ahead with that. Thank you. Welcome to all the participants. This is conducted jointly, as I mentioned, by Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce along with Capital Goods Skill Council, which is an extended arm of National Skill Development Corporation. You all may be knowing even Bangalore Chamber is one of the active partners of Aerospace and Aviation Skill Council, which was established as a national body. Likewise, I happen to be in the governing council of Capital Goods Skill Council also. And Mr. Harish Nachnani from Festo is also one of the board members of the Capital Goods Skill Council. Today, the simulation training by Festo is a very important program. It is cuts across many of the capital goods sectors such as machine tools, power electrical equipment, process plant and machinery, textile machinery, plastic, paper or rubber machinery, light engineering goods such as castings, forgings and machinery related to that, earth moving and construction and mining equipment, material handling and lifting equipment, agriculture machinery and equipment which belongs to the sector called industrial automation. I don't want to go into the details of this, but suffice to say these 10 subsectors which comprise the capital goods sector are getting big benefit from the year of 2013 by the Skill Council, which is established jointly by Federation of Indian Commerce and Industry and the Department of Heavy Industries, anchored by the private sector of capital goods industry as well as public sector, and Ministry of Skills and National Skill Development Corporation. It is chaired by Mr. Sunil Chaturvedi, who is heading himself. He was a IAS officer and then followed by is heading a company in called the Tractors India Limited. And we have a big team of people across the country, mainly headquartered in Delhi. A total of 55 qualifications, which mean job roles, comprising of over 96 unique national occupational standards have been developed by the council. All the qualifications have been validated by a minimum of 30 companies belonging to the large, medium and smaller enterprises. All the qualifications are now aligned to the National Skills Qualification Framework, and that has been finally registered into the National Qualification Register. They are also mobile internationally. So, excuse me, the main task objectives of this council is to develop national occupational standards and qualifications. At the end of another few years, we will have 250 qualifications comprising many job roles, including future job roles which are emerging due to Industry 4.0, and affiliation of training partners, affiliation of educational institutions to deliver the standards. Develop quality assurance parameters for assessments and certification, training of trainers and assessors, promote the academies of excellence for the sector. Apart from that, labor management information system, which includes demand and supply of labor for this sector. Now I will just touch upon the committee which I am chairing in the Capital Goods Skill Council. It is called the Industry 4.0 subcommittee, and here we have a task force comprising of the leaders in the industry of automation and digital manufacturing. We have put together, formed around 20 major job roles for the future, like factory automation, robotics engineer, process automation, remote diagnostic engineer, advanced mechatronics, CNC, PLC engineer, digital design development engineer, cyber data security specialist, mobile communication technologies, controls and system technologies, additive manufacturing technologist, virtual and augmentation reality technologist, machine learning technologies, artificial intelligence technologies, manufacturing and supply chain data analyst, digital quality engineer, predictive maintenance engineer, data analytics dashboard design software engineer, machine connectivity system engineer, digital platform network engineer, sensor technologist, data capturing technologies, and system integrator technologies. These titles are subject to changes. We are validating these job roles with the industry. As we are talking, 2 job roles have been detailed: factory automation robotics engineer and predictive maintenance engineer have been validated and about to be launched. And the focus of the council is not just to create only job roles. We work very closely to provide the necessary skilled workforce for the industries and to create opportunity for exploring industry-owned training centers and adopt existing centers under the CSR initiative, support industries for the apprenticeship programs, which is now being taken over by the skill councils, industry participation, work skill competition, world skill competitions, knowledge support required from industry experts, and upskilling and reskilling of existing employees. And this is the Chief Operating Officer's contact, Mrs. Shalini Singh. Later, I think this will be circulated by Bangalore Chamber, and you can make a note and contact Capital Goods Skill Council. I'll just take a couple of minutes to give the introduction and context of this webinar. What is simulation-based training? Simulation is a very important tool in Industry 4.0, not only for the business processes, but also for the training process, which is also a very important function of the HR as well as operating managers. It involves use of basic equipment or a computer software or a combination of equipment and software to model a real world scenario. And during simulation based training, the learner is taught how to perform certain tasks or activities in the various real world scenarios, so they will be better prepared should the event actually occur. Simulation training usually involves interacting by using a technology. As workplaces become more complex with more digital tools, databases, software applications, and devices necessary to complete the work, the need for employee training has become as critical as ever. And last but not the least, is now there are new generation of immersive technologies, including interactive 360-degree video, virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality, which are holding exciting possibilities for bringing deeper immersive learning into the workplace. My last slide is to tell you briefly what are the 8 benefits of simulation-based training. Simulation-based training gives you real-life experiences. The instructor can give immediate feedback to the trainees. There is a lot of knowledge retention as compared to just observing a PowerPoint presentation, because they are very closely interacting. Is an experiential based learning, so knowledge retention is very good. The risks are minimized because it is not actually a real life situation. It is only simulating the real life situation, so we can afford to make a couple of mistakes, correct ourselves before we launch into the real life situation. There is a quantifiable training. Everybody can be measured. The training can be measured, and it could be based part of further improving the training programs or assessment and certification of the trainees, or even for that matter, their performance assessment during their actual working in the factories. And of course, it can also be used for multiple uses. Simulation is not necessarily only for training purposes. It can also be used for actual augmented training during the on-the-job training concept. And very, very important is simulation brings down the cost of training and also the speed of completing the training and going into the real operations. Both cost and time are reduced. Finally, there is a lot of cooperation between the trainees and the instructor. The trainees can teach each other and they get a overall synergy is very high. You can also have a competition during the simulation of a group exercise where you can have projects and the trainees get very much benefited of this. I don't want to get into the details of this. There are some interesting literature which we can circulate for the audience who are logged in today and those who are registered. And hopefully they are also going to see this webinar, which will be finally posted on the electronically through a link. And thank you very much for patient listening. I would like to now invite Mr. Harish Nachnani to take over, and the file will be shared. And Mr. Harish, thank you so much for conducting this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chandramouli.
Over to you. Rupa, over to you. We achieved our target of 50% of the registered audience. It's exactly 50 now.
Yeah.
Thank you. After a couple of minutes, I will switch off my video and audio.
Yeah.
You can open the big screen, Mr. Harish.
Yeah, just 1 second. Yeah. Yep. So hopefully my screen is shared and my voice also.
It's clear, sir.
It's clear?
It's clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank
So
you. You
thank
can go
you
up
very
to
much.
12:10. You can go up to 12:10, 12:15, 12:20. Then we can have a question and answer session, because your
Sure.
session is very, very important. Thank you, sir.
Sure, we'll make it till around 12:20 then, in that case. Yeah. So first of all, Mr. Chandramouli, thank you very much for enabling this session and also setting the context for the session with a very appropriate overview. I'm thankful to you. You have already covered a part of what I had to cover, so wonderful. And to begin with, also a big thanks to BCCIC and CGSC to create a platform where information is shared with all the members. And so a big thank you from Festo side. Yeah. And to begin with, we sincerely wish you all are doing good along with your family. And also a very special mention to all the COVID fighters on the street, the government machinery, the people in the administration, the medical staff, the police on the road, and hopefully we all as individuals are able to abide in the best possible way. So to begin with, I'll just have a couple of slides on Festo. Very brief information Mr. Chandramouli has already shared. So we are a German company since 1925, a leading player into automation. We are into pneumatic, process automation, electric, with a lot of components and solutions on one side, and on the other side also into didactic trainings. We cater to different industry segments. I've just mentioned a few here, like food and beverage, automotive, electronic, biotech, pharma, but also the capital good industry, the textile, the machine tool, the printing, the packaging. You know, we say anything related to manufacturing is what we can support from our side. Yeah. And you would also see in the heading we have said a family-owned enterprise. You know, we have more than 20,000 employees with more than 3 billion euro turnover, but we still take pride in saying family-owned enterprise. And that's because what our founder says, being family-owned enterprise, we are in control of things what we would like to do. For example, spend the money in research and development, not worrying about the stock market, for example. Yeah. So we do come up with a lot of patents, maybe more than 100 patents every year. And I said a part of Festo is automation, a part of Festo is didactic, and then it's the best symbiosis that we can have for industry and education. So automation has components and system solutions to increase productivity of machines and systems, and we from didactic side with learning systems, training and consulting, increase the efficiency and productivity of the people in the organization. And this is what we as a group are doing, increasing the productivity of more than 3 lakh customers worldwide that we cater to. In terms of technical education solution, we have an holistic offering in terms of education, wherein we have a lot of equipments. We come up with a lot of holistic curricula with a lot of things in support of lab design and preparing the trainers, the trainer part, you know, preparing the right delivery of the offering, which we support with a lot of educational institutions. In terms of industry, we support with consulting and training on different topics that we cover through our own training centers and also partner training centers. And as a group, we also support in terms of qualification. We run dual vocational training programs as per German system, which is worldwide renowned. We do it even in India, and we'd be very happy to share such experiences. Coming to the webinar, yes, you all must be surprising with the name that we give as a precursor to automation and cyber physical system. Yeah. Thank you very much, BCCIC, again for creating such platform, and you have been having many eminent speakers talking on the topic of Industry 4.0, and digitalization is one of the key parts of Industry 4.0. Yeah. So I don't want to venture much into those topics, but we all know as a part of digitalization, you know, as Mr. Chandramouli also shared the new topics in terms of VR, in terms of going ahead, also in terms of digital twin, the basic is all simulation. Yeah. And what we feel is simulation is basic in terms of learning automation or preparing to design anything in automation. And as many technologies of Industry 4.0, which have been existing for long, we are into simulations more than 25 years, since early 90s, you know, and that's very important. So what we said, the brief outcome, what we would like to have from this webinar is to share with you all how simulation can be used as a tool to teach, how simulation can be used as a tool to learn, and also for the colleagues from industry, how to use the tool to design and automate. So it's a small outcome. We said we will try to do it. Yes, Mr. Chandramouli already shared, why simulation? Yes, it offers a lot of flexibility. The training can be diversified. It can be experimental. It's a project-oriented training. It's very safe. It's the virtual equipment is safe. We all know working with robots. Of course, today we work with collaborative robots, but in terms of fundamental robots that we work, which is inside a fence and all, how we need to work, and we will show you how easy you can, do and learn a programming a robot. There's a lot of adaptability. It's portability, availability. You can use it wherever you want, as often as you like. That way. So a lot of benefits that come with the simulation, and of course, it's as a technology very widely used by the professionals in the industry. Especially moving ahead in the terms of digital twin. Right? Yeah. So our part of presentation and live demo is done in two parts majorly, would say. So first we would touch in terms of the schematics. So how a pneumatic, hydraulic, electric schematics are simulated, and how we can take benefit of that. Of course, we as colleagues from Festo, we have software. So as an example, we are using our softwares, but it can be taken as in general for a simulation activity. So for the schematic part, we will be using a FluidSim, where we will show you a demo after my next few slides. So basically what one should look at in simulation as a tool, whether you want to learn or you want to teach or you also want to design in the industry. It has to be interactive in terms of there should be virtual devices, the library part, how intuitive it is, how fast are the simulations, and of course the failure model and diagnosis. So very briefly, when we say interactive, FluidSim allows both convenient creation of schematics as well as interactive simulation. And way it works with FluidSim is that it can also be connected to external hardware, and then it goes into exactly the case of digital twin, what we say, that how you connect a software and a hardware together and have a seamless integration. So this becomes a very fundamental learning from that perspective. Then virtual measuring devices, of course, we in our systems have devices, but when we need to add more physical devices, of course it would take a part of a power or some of the part, it may reflect in certain part into the schematic. But in virtual measuring devices, we can deploy them into the system without affecting the working of the schematic. And as standard, we also from FluidSim support a certain part of measurements very easily, like the voltage or the ampere or the pressure flow, which are predefined and can be used directly. The library of the symbols is important. On the one side, how it can help you to create the schematic faster with the availability of a large pool of symbols. But on the other side, it's also very important that symbols are used as per standards. So that's very important to have it in any simulation tool. The intuitive interface, I will not talk about it. We will actually show you how intuitive it can be, how fast you can draw a schematic, how you can simulate it, and how you can observe the different parameters in the system. Yes, it has to be lightning fast. FluidSim, as we said, we have been there since early 90s, and we have been consistently designing it for higher speed, which is very, very important because what we say, a simulation tool, the testing has to be in real time. So for example, if you define different parameters to a component, then based on those parameters, you should be able to see the difference in their operating. Some part could also be visible through a naked eye itself, or some part even through different reports. And we will try to show you a very small part into our demo of how it is important to have a testing in real time. And this with any learning model and maintenance part, whether we, without going into details even of preventive maintenance or other part, it is very important to understand how we can look at failures and how we can diagnose it. That becomes a very, very important part of a simulation exercise. Yeah. So now I will invite my colleague, Mr. Senthil Kumar, to offer you a small demo on FluidSim. He would do it in 3 parts. The first part would be a very small schematic to draw. So how easy it is to draw with FluidSim and simulate is what we would show. As a second part, we would show how we can observe the difference in parameters of 2 components in terms of reports, or how we can briefly see that. And third is very briefly we will touch on to show that how, if there is an industry application issue or industry application problem or a learning task which is available, so how to go with it, observe it, from there to create a schematic and then work on that. So may I please request Ms. Rupa to stop my sharing and give the sharing for Mr. Senthil Kumar. Ms. Rupa, can you give the sharing to Mr. Senthil Kumar?
Give me a minute, sir. I will do that.
Sure.
ಮೇಲನ್ನು ಕಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಬಿಳಿ ಟಾಪ್ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ, ಅದೇ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ.
I have made him the presenter, sir.
No, good morning. I have other Senthil Kumar in the conversation, in the webinar being given the access, I think. Could you please change it to Senthil Kumar? Yes.
Yes, sir. I am doing it, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I have made him, sir.
Yeah. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to this presentation on FluidSim, which I will be taking through. So first, going to the FluidSim software, which I have presented in my screen. This
Just
is
an interruption. Just an interruption here. You can come as the video along with Mr.
Okay.
Harish. You just switch on your video. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. I think I am visible there.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar on simulation as a precursor to automation. So here my part will be to explain you about how simulation through FluidSim can help in realizing those facts that have been mentioned earlier by Mr. Harish in the presentation as such. So I have also captured them on the screen so that we can reiterate again on how exactly FluidSim is going to help in to realize those things here. So this is a software which is being used for simulating many of the pneumatic, electro-pneumatic, hydraulic, electro-hydraulic, and many more technologies like digital technologies, which can be very easily simulated in this arena or in this workspace as such. Basically, it has got a component library which has got all the components that are very frequently used inside the automation there, so which can be very easily brought inside the working area and create a circuit here. Here, of course, I have made a circuit ready-made. I will also show you how exactly this can be realized as such. So if you look at the possibilities with the simulation, we can run variations. That is what we can see in this simulation also, in the sense like you can change the parameters without even actually making any cost incurred as such. But if you look at the real situation where you have to maybe make some changes, you have to wait for days and maybe procure them and finally include and finally make a decision as such. further, as we had realized that it involves risk assessment as such, in the sense like you can very easily minimize the risk, because having to build something and make them work and finally breaking them or resulting in some unsafe eventuality, simulations can maybe help us to minimize those things. Like, so we can reproduce this infinitely, in the sense like there is no cost involved, like, because the component libraries, whatever we see here, can be used innumerable times into this working arena, and we can realize whatever we have in our imagination to be realized in practice as such. Of course, there is also safety of products as such, because let us say if you are giving electrical equipment with over voltage or under voltage, it might not perform as such. But here in this situation, not only we can visualize what is happening over there, but also helps us in maybe not destroying the components as such. And of course, we can fine tune to the precision as such, whereas in the reality that might be happening very fast, or maybe it's not possible to tune to that extent as such. But simulation extends all the features by which we can very precisely make those things possible as such. Of course, we can bring in modification in the arrangement as and when we progress as such. So that these are some of the things, like, of course, it also helps us to bring us insights over a time as such, in the sense like if something is to be built, maybe it takes very long time to observe how things are working as such. But in simulation, with the control of the speed as such, we can do many such things. Like, so without much talk, let us see how exactly this is being realized with FluidSim as the software as such. Of course, the first point over is the interactive simulation as such. So this simulation tool helps us to be very interactive, in the sense like you need not go into the menus and try to set some things before we can make some modifications to the circuit. As and when as it is necessary, intuitively we can try to bring in the changes. Like, so for seeing that, let us switch on the simulation here. So I have constructed a circuit. Prior to that, I will also show you how exactly it is easy to construct that. So making a circuit with pneumatics, electrics, hydraulics, or maybe for that matter closed loop pneumatics, or whatever is the thing, like, it is not a very cumbersome process. It is made very easy as such. So you can only click on the library and drag and drop those components here, maybe pull out any component from the component library once we are aware of the basics of the technology. Like, so I am recreating the same circuit what is being done here. So the connections here is actually very easy, in the sense like you have to go to the node, drag and drop them, and place them inside the circuit as such. So the supply of air is what we require. Maybe we also might need we might need less of those things. Like, so we will try to pull any of those maybe flow control valves or whatever is the thing that is necessary over here to make use of that. So since I have already done this, I just will uh, uh, try to simulate this circuit. So it is very easy to do this thing. That's what I was trying to explain you as such. So as you go along like this, there will be this circuit like which I have drawn here. So I just click on this, so I can maybe switch on the thing. Like, so if I want to include any virtual measuring instruments, I can just bring it over here from the arrangement here. Say, let us say I want to bring in some pressure control. I need to bring some pressure gauges or something like that. So I can maybe connect it over here and maybe start to simulate this. So here we can see the same thing. So what happens in this situation is, of course, the pressure over there is about 6 bar. So you can realize that momentarily, at every instant, dynamically, we can realize what exactly is happening inside the circuit as such. So this way we can bring in any of those measuring instruments, so any virtual instruments as such. So it is very easy. Of course, it will not load the circuit because it is going to be working on the mathematical formula rather than on the connections, physical connection that might be existing over there. So this is about few of those features which we described little earlier. We will look at the other possibilities here. So fluid sim, as I was telling you, it can be dynamically displaying you what is the status of every element inside the control as such. So in this way we can maybe realize, optimize our thing like and fine tune it to precision whenever it is expected to. So here are two cylinders which are of different sizes in the same arrangement, because we can configure this cylinder just by clicking the button over here and changing the parameters in the circuit as such. So basically you can maybe create some loads inside the arrangement, or maybe you can change the component details as such. So what is the piston diameter, what is the rod diameter, and this has been made in such a way that it can include a complete range that is currently available in the market as such. So that is what we can see in this um, thing here. So let us try to simulate here. So of course this is configured differently. You can see there it is subjected to a load of 1500 newtons, whereas here it is subjected to a load of 5000 newtons. Let us see how exactly we can try to depict the performance of the cylinder here. So this is based on the time-based arrangement as such. So it is able to give you a complete picture of how those cylinders are reacting at various stages inside the circuit. You can see a lot of ripples coming over there, which is nothing but the slipstick motion that is being executed by the cylinder there, which can be seen. If you can maybe extrapolate this graph, you can also see what time it is happening as such, and to what extent these are seen there. So that is the other part of simulation. So further, let us go into the next slide here. So this is the other feature there. So we have many situations where we have to realize many of the applications on the shop floor. So here is one such application where some pins are contained inside an hopper as such, which needs to be pushed one after the other. So the pins are to be fed continuously by to and fro motion of the cylinder. The feeding of the cylinder has to stop when the stop button is pressed. So exclusively there are a double acting cylinder inside this arrangement which has to reciprocate, which means that we need to have two position dependent controls, and in addition to that we are also having a push button which is to start the operation, by which it can continuously reciprocate, and by press of the other button it has to stop. So this is the graphic, the positional sketch which is existing to be constructed on, which is to be physically replicated later on after validating with the help of the fluid sim as such. So having had this problem, now there are two, of course there are possibilities that straight away we can go and construct the one and try to realize whether what are the deficiencies in terms of the outputs or whatever is the expectation prescribed. Otherwise we can try to do simulation. So simulation, as we talked about, saves us cost. So here is this arrangement where we can, with the help of the simulation, try to build one of this thing like. So here is the circuit for the pneumatic circuit. I will show you two variations on this as such. One is the pneumatic circuit, and finally discuss on what are the possibilities in terms of flexibility, safety, adaptability, portability, and availability as such. So first let us go into the simulation here. So here is the circuit. Now you can see many of those features in terms of the flow, the pressure, which has been called for to be exhibited when it is moving, and this is not a static one. It is going to be dynamically displaying all those things, like of course the forces are also going to be displayed here. So as I was explaining you, these are the two buttons which are to be used here. This is for the start and the other one is for the stop as such, and these are the two positional dependent controls that are going to be available here, and the cylinder has to reciprocate as such, and of course the speed has to be controlled as such. So let us see whether what is happening here. So you could see here the cylinder getting reciprocated in and out, and you could see visually there what is the speed. Of course, then you can, velocity is being described over there, then it is possible for us to clock as how many times the cylinder will reciprocate, what will be my production output as such. So that is what is the thing like. The circuit is flexible enough because we can at any instant maybe stop this thing and add different elements that might improve or enhance the performance of the circuit as such. So that way it is very flexible as such. Of course, we are not going to break anything because we are going to have a safe arrangement here. So naturally it is going to be very safe, because maybe if we are going to put a very huge load on a small cylinder which has got a very thin piston rod, possibility to break that rod or bend that rod is there. But here we can try it out because you can vary every parameter as we saw little earlier. And of course, while it is running, we can intuitively make changes so that to see how exactly it affects my performance over there as such. Of course, you can be adapting it to the real situation. So straight away, every component is available inside the market there, which can be straight away, because actually these components can be scaled to any extent that is possibly available in the market as such. Of course, we can port it to the real-time thing like, and of course it is also available anytime during the simulation as such. We can decide to have this simulation whenever we would like to have, and may try to further look at the details and to optimize them as such. So this is about the pneumatic part. Similarly, we also have with the electrical arrangement here. So I will go to the electrical part now. So this is the next arrangement. Now here is an electro-pneumatic arrangement, which is again a precursor to automation, because these are the building blocks before which we can try to automate and reach to cyber physical systems here. So we have a cylinder and a solenoid valve, which means it takes electric signals for its control as such. So here is the control where the same two push buttons have been included here, and there are the two limit switches and of course the two solenoid valves, which we will see in its operation as such. Again, needless to say, we can apply any feature over here. Maybe we can cut down on the relay number of relays, or we can try to optimize with the number of solenoids that is being used, or whatever is the requirement as such. So here is this possibility which we are trying to realize with the electrical circuits. If we have noted down on the speed earlier, and we see how this is going to react and how fast it is going to work in a minute or something like that, it will also try to improve, optimize the thing in terms of the controls as such. So that is about the pneumatic, electro-pneumatic part as such. So we will now try to go into the other important feature in learning situations, in maintaining the equipment at our plants or something like that, in trying to teach the employee, the operator, whether he is able to do certain things here. Here is a simulation which can be included inside the fluid sim, where we can create errors in all these components. Of course, for simplicity's sake, I have included a very simple circuit inside the arrangement. So here, this is we are trying to teach them, or maybe we can explore what is the skill level, then look at what is the training need, training gap that is there, or skill gap that is there, and include some training as such. So here is this arrangement where specifically we have included this error inside the circuit here. So when I press this, of course it doesn't work, because there is a lot of errors that have been, or what are the realistic problems that can occur in the physical world as such has been included here in terms of the valves or something like that, and we try maybe the maintenance person. This can be included in the circuit which actually the machine has got as such, and we try to impose certain errors, faults inside the circuit, and we can try to ask them to identify it. So here is the thing, like, so I have included this. Of course, the circuit doesn't work, which can also exist in the physical arrangement. So I will ask him to maintain it or troubleshoot this arrangement. So I specifically go to this place which is wrong actually in terms of identification, so which is also depicted over here. So that means he is not realizing why this problem is existing as such, or how it has to be effectively tackled. It is only going by trial and error. So let me do one more attempt with this thing, like, so I will try to see the problem is here. Yes, of course, this was the right thing that has to be identified at the first instance as such. So of course, what I did is I placed excess of friction inside the cylinder. That's why the cylinder is not moving. Similarly, for every component, the all possible failures possibilities are included, which can be maybe selected and maybe asked for training purpose or to troubleshoot that in a virtual world. So without even saving time, energy and money, we can very easily realize this sitting on simulation and trying to explore these things, like. So these are the things which I wanted to briefly tell you. Of course, here is an arrangement. Maybe we would like to optimize it with a single solenoid. So this same circuit which we saw little earlier, by the press of the button, we are able to maybe simulate it either without the solenoid on the other side as such. So this all can be done without actually incurring a cost. So I think this is all I have for Fluid Sim. I think I will hand it over to Mr. Harish for further proceedings with Syros and other things. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sandil. Yeah, because of the time paucity, yeah, he had to rush and show few things on that part. But idea was to demonstrate how to use the tool for designing or for teaching and also for learning. And best part is our part of simulation is because of the current situation that we are having to work remotely and also to teach and learn remotely. And this becomes a really wonderful tool. May I please request to have the screen for presentation so I can have a very short, quick. Ms. Rupa, if you can allow me to present. Ms. Rupa, can you please help to share? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so we had on the schematic side of it. Next, yeah, we will move into more automation with mechatronics as a topic to say so, and also robotics way. So very quickly, I will, looking at the time, I will rush through my part of the slide so that you can have the view on the system itself. But we talk about sensor, the PLC, the robotics, fault simulation, Sendil has covered in detail. Very briefly on virtual reality, what today institutes would like to work on research, and how a suggestion on simulation as a part of curriculum. Yeah. So the next tool what we have for simulating the automation side, we have a platform Syros, which we like to demonstrate, which supports a lot of sensors. And best part of it is you don't need to use a coding language or other part to work with different kind of sensors. It's basically you configure a sensor, and just like our Fluid Sim software, this is also a high speed and real time based calculation, so which gives the best idea for simulation. It works at a hardware in loop, so we can validate different PLC programs with the real control technology against simulation. The system has a lot of predefined models and new models which can be created, and then any PLC can be used to connect to it to validate the PLC programs. Yeah, so through an OPC server, so it could be any PLC. We have sorry, a device, EasyPort, through which there can be any physical PLC that can be connected. Here we are depicting just Siemens as an example, but whether it is Rockwell, it's Mitsubishi, it's Delta, you name the PLC. In general, it's a PLC independent system that can simulate. But also as a system, different manufacturers like ABB, Beckhoff, Festo use Codesys as a software, which is available in the market or as a normal download, and this can also be directly connected to the system to understand the simulation. So this would give a wonderful platform to, on one side, validate the already done PLC program, and also for teachers to propagate and train students, and students for them to have different tasks prepared. And similarly, we will go on to the robotic simulation, which we will show. In robotics, it could be again, just like in PLC, we shared certain robot manufacturers use a standard model for programming the different robots available. Certain robot manufacturers like ABB, KUKA, Mitsubishi have their own language for programming the robots. And in our software, especially for Mitsubishi, is also wherein we can directly download the software online onto a robot. So here again, we work with different robots into the system to enable a better understanding of different robot programming as a language, but also as a tool to use it from a varied perspective. Yeah. And this is what my colleague Jagdishan will show. I've rushed through now the next few slides. Just like FluidSim, here also we can prepare a lot of fault simulation. We can have different scenarios. So it can be a trainer can set up the fault into the system. He can distribute and activate it. The students will have to work to detect it, and also a log would be created on how they have gone about detecting the problem. And then the trainer can evaluate the log file and see whether the student has understood the system properly and proper the right way to diagnose the problem into a automation system. The Siros software is also with just a click away into the virtual environment. So today what we use virtual reality to have a physical view of the system without having the system in place, and this is very much possible with the simulation tool. And also for research today, the systems have to be connected to different external tools, MATLAB, for example, that's what's possible with Siros, and also to connect it to MES software, what is a backbone of, say, Industry 4.0. So this is all what is possible working together with Siros. And yes, Siros is not per se a normal CAD tool to draw a design. So you can have lot of import of your different stations and all what you have that can be imported into Siros, can be exported back. So this can really help a tool that you draw the power of simulation which is available in Siros, part of it. And last part of my slide, sorry I'm rushing through because I want you to have more time on the software to see, because that is what you will really appreciate. Yeah. But important part is how we can use simulation as a part of curriculum. The simulation can be used on one side to identify the problem. On the other side, it can be to iterate different solutions which are possible. And then there could be a virtual commissioning of the system available, which takes into validation and verification the complete programming, the complete commissioning, having a prototype run done, and then also see a small parameter change of for example to understand the cycle time, how you can better the cycle time of the system and things like this. Lot of variants and topics that can be created from the trainer, which can really motivate the student today, because we know the generation today is much more tuned to digital working than the generation earlier, and therefore they also need some very intelligent tools to help them enhance their learning. And one of the things what we say through simulation is to give the student that confidence, because there is no fear in his mind to do anything or try anything, and that is what a good student is all about. And we give him the right platform to work on it. Yeah. And just my last slide, it's not just a thank you, because we are going to the next level, but people who are tuned to industry and want to learn more on automation from nature. Festo has, some of you may know, but for others, very much active into bionics of how we can learn from nature. So you can go into Google and see Festo Bionics. It's a wonderful world to learn and see how you can learn from nature. So Rupa, thank you. May I now request you to give the screen sharing to my colleague Jagdishan? Thank you. So Jagdishan, yep, you can take up now the demo on the PLC part and also the robot part both. Thank you.
Good morning to all. Now I'll show you the PLC programming in the Codesys platform communicating with the Xerox software. So let me open the Xerox software. So in the Xerox software, we have a predefined more than 150 industrial automation models in this software. So I'll open one of the model, then I'll do the program on the software. So now I'll show you the models here, which are available in the Xerox software. So there is a industrial model called distribution station. So this is the station which is coming in the initial stage of the industrial production line, where you can put the raw material to the thing. The station will transfer the product to the other stations. So this is the station we have in the Xerox software. Then there is a other station called measuring station. This is one of the inspection station. Then we have a station called handling station. So this is like typical industrial application, like doing the pick and place operation of the workpieces or products. So now I'll go with the model called distribution conveyor station. So with this station, right side you can see there is a station that is a real hardware. In the left side you can see there is a model which we have in the Xerox software. So if you want to know about the station, there is some technical details, or if you want to know about some address of the sensors and addresses of the output devices like motors and cylinders. So these are the I/O details of the station. Then this station consists of a control panel also. These are the I/O details of the control panel. Now let me load the station to the main project screen. Okay, now I'm loading the station. Okay, so now the station is loaded to the my main project screen. So there are two things you can see here. The right side there is a I/O monitor things. So here you can see the status of the I/O, whether it is in the false condition or true condition. Now I'll control this model by a external PLC programming. So doing the external PLC programming, I need to change this controller from default to the, there is a software called OPC. So now I change the control, the external control. Now let me open the software Codesys, that is a version 2.3. So then there is another software called Codesys SPPLC WinNT. This is the soft PLC of the Codesys platform. Okay. Waiting for the Codesys software. Yes, this is the Codesys software. So here I create a new program, file, new. So here there is no hardware device, so I'm going to do the software forms. So the software is Codesys PLC WinNT. So there is a selection I'm doing here. So I'm going to do the PLC program in ladder logic, that is a LD here. So clicking OK here. So before going to the programming, we have to assign the I/O details to the Codesys software. So this is the I/O details of the particular station. So here you can see these are the inputs of the station. Then these are the outputs of the station. Example, you can see here there is a conveyor forward, conveyor reverse, advanced feed separator. Like that, we have there are 4 outputs in the station. Then there are 4 outputs in the panel also. And same way, we have 5 inputs in the panel also. So now I'll do the program here. Before doing the program, let me tell you about the station first. So in the station, you can see here there is a control panel. So let me move the control panel to visible to all. So here there is a green color, that is a start button. There is one input. There is another red color button, that is a stop button. Then below the start button, there is a gray with a green, that is a reset button. Then parallel to the reset button, there you can see the auto manual key. So in this control panel, we have there are 4 inputs. Then the same way, the start button has LED also. There is one output. Then the reset button, that is a gray color below the start button. So that the reset button also has the LED. Then below the auto manual key, there are 2 green color lamps. That is an output device from the panel. So next, there are so many models in the station as well. So the main things are in the stations are stag magazine as well as conveyor model. In this stag magazine, there is a double acting cylinder for the ejecting the workpiece one by one. Then there is a conveyor model to transfer the workpiece from this to the another proceeding station. With this conveyor itself, we have some 3 sensors. The 3 sensors, the sensing range we can see in the red color line here. So now I'll little bit make it like this. So in the left side, you can see there is a workpiece table. The workpiece table is for the feeding the workpiece to the station. Now I will go to the codices again. I will start the programming. So as we know the IO details, so I will make a simple logic here. So when we press the auto manual key that I assign to the letter S3, then we have another input, that is reset button, that is S4. So here I use OR logic, whether we can press S3 or S4. So for that, I'll show there is a lamp in the control panel, that is a P3. That is another lamp, that is P4. So here I'm trying to show like when I press S3 or S4, we can get the output P3 and P4. So these are the 2 lamps in the control panel. Then I'll make another logic with that. There is a start button with this control panel, so that I assign the name S1 here. So there is an output for the ejecting cylinder for the gravity magazine, that is output is Q4, ejecting cylinder. Then I have another output, that is a conveyor motor forward, that is a Q0. So now my ladder logic is ready. So before downloading the thing to the Ceros, I need to do the downloading procedure before. So let me do the procedures. So projects, options, I need to configure the symbols. Okay. So yes. Okay. Now we can download the program to the soft PLC. So online, yes, login. So now I'll run this. Okay. Now let me show the Ceros screen also. Yes. Now you can see the programming screen as well as Ceros screen. Okay. Okay. Now let me start the simulation of the Ceros. Okay. Now we have a gravity magazine in the distribution station. Let me load the workpiece. So now I'm loading the workpiece to the gravity magazine. So you can see there, I'm loading now silver color. Yes. Now as per the logic what we did in the PLC program, so S3 and S4, which means reset button or the auto manual key. If we operate any one of the input, we will get the output P3 and P4. Now let me press the reset button. So there is a communication issue here. Okay, let me go to this. Okay, let me open the model again. Let's see. Okay, I'll open the model again to my main screen. Okay. Okay. So there is a communication between issue in the Xerox software. I'll open the software again. Software is getting open. Okay. Now the software is open. Okay. Now we have to change the PLC switch because we are controlling the program from the external platform. Okay. OPC. Yes. Now let me download this Odyssey program to my thing. Yes. Now it is downloaded. I'll start the simulation in the Xerox software. Okay. Now it is started. Okay. Now let me load the workpieces. Okay, I'm loading it. Yes. Okay. Now as per the logic, if you press reset button or the auto manual key, the lamp, yes, I'm getting the reply from wait, let me load the zeros again. So there is a issue in my computer actually. That is why I'm not able to establish the communication between the policies and Xerox. I'll open the fresh Xerox again. Okay. Okay. Go to the station now. Entry stations, distribution conveyor. Okay. Open reference model. Okay. Now the model is loading in the main screen. Okay. Now let me close this reward details. So now I'll change the PLC switch to the external platform. Okay. Okay. Now let me download the PLC program to the soft PLC. Okay, it's downloaded. So it's running also. Now I'll start the PLC program. So let me load the workpiece to the Xerox model. So there is a issue in the software.
Can you show the robot part? We'll ask Sendil to show it till that time. Yep. You.
Yeah. Give me 2 minutes, sir. I'll do it. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll show this. Okay. Now let me open the Cirrus. Okay. By the time I will open the Odysseus also. Okay. I'll open the new file. Okay. Global variables. Okay. I'll go to the program. So here I'll do the program. So this, there is an input S3, then there is output P3. So here I will make a logic. When I press S3 or S4, I need to get the output P3 or P4. So P4 is another output. So I make another logic. There is a start button here. There is S1. Sorry, S1. So there is the output. Ejection cylinder is Q4. Yes. Then there is another output. There is a conveyor forward Q0. Okay. Now I will open the soft PLC also. Okay. So now there is some procedures to do the downloading here. So option, symbol configuration. Okay. Your symbols, global variables. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. Now in the Cirrus, I will load the station called distribution station. Open reference model.
Jagdishan, can you move to the robot part? When the question answer session is going on, at that time you can demonstrate the PLC part also. No. So first maybe you show the robot part, so that then Mr. Chandramouli can take the question answers, and parallelly while question answer is happening, you without speaking demonstrate the PLC part.
Okay. I'll create the robot now then. So I'll show you the robot.
Jagdishan, your voice is not audible, Jagdishan.
What about now, sir? Is that okay?
Yes. Yeah.
No, Mr.
Now it's
Harish, Harish's voice is perfect. Jagdishan is little muffled and echoing.
What about okay, sir? What about now? Is that okay?
Now it's better.
Yeah.
And we
Now
have to
I'll-
move into Q&A very fast.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure. We
now-
will show the
now
robot
I-
part.
Yes. Now I'll start the robotic program. Mm,
Again, voice not good.
so, hello.
You can
Is
switch
that
off
okay?
your video. Jagdishan, you can switch off your video. Then voice will
Yeah.
be better.
So now I'll open the robot programming. So for that robot programming, I'll open the, there is a robot in the model library. I'll open Mitsubishi here. So Mitsubishi, I'll open one of the Mitsubishi robot RV2FL. Okay. So this is the robot. So with the robot, I will attach the gripper also with that. So there is a parallel gripper. I will attach with the robot. Okay. Now I'll move the robot a little bit to the top so everyone can see here. So now I'm going to show the running of a robot. So before running this robot, I need to create a program as well as stitching points. Now I'll start creating the new project with the Melfa Basics program in the Mitsubishi robot. So I'll create a name. There is a Melfa Basics 5. So for that, the program name is MB5. Okay. Then I'll create a position list also. Okay. Now okay, now this is the position window. Now let me teach the robot. I'm going to teach the robot in the joint coordinate. So we have two coordinates here, joint coordinate plus Cartesian coordinate. Let me start with the joint coordinate. Let me save this position as a home position. That is a point P1. Then let me go to the movement of a robot. So now I'm moving the robot of a first joint. So now this is a first joint movement. So I'll record this position as a P2 point. Then I'll move the robot to the next motion. So the same I'm moving the first joint to the other direction. Okay. Now I'll record this position. Then I'll move the another joint. There is a joint 2 here. So I'll record this position. Then let me move the same joint in another direction. So here I'm moving all the joints and recording the points to show the simple simulation. Okay, now this is another thing. So now I'll move the third joint, elbow joint. Okay, now I'll record this point. Okay, now let me move the twist moment. Yes, then the same twist moment on the other direction. Yes, okay, okay, then movement of a pitch, insert, then I'll move the roll moment also. Okay, so now the thing is ready with the teaching points. Before running the robot programming, we have to start with the Melfa Basics program. So let me go with the simple commands. So there is a Melfa Basic program command called mov.1. Then there is a command called move.2. Then there is a command. Let me move all the points. Point 6. Then I move the things to 0.7. Then 0.8. So move 0.9, move 0.10. Then last there is a move 0.11. So P11. Now I can decide at what acceleration I need to run the robot. So there is a command code called ACCEL. So let me move with a meter per second square 300. Then let me decide the speed also. This I will decide with 500 millimeter per second. Then if I want to make any delay between the thing, there is a command code called DLY. So I'm making a delay 1 second here. Then if I want to make any delay in the point between P8 and P9, there is a code delay. I'll make a 2-second here. Then if I want to run this program continuously, so there is a code, command code, go to. So it's a go to repeat. So from which point we need to run the robot continuously. So there is a go to command we have to enter here also. Okay, now the program will we can go for the compilation. So compile, yes. Okay, the program is getting compiled. Yes. So the project is totally successful. Now we can go for a running of a robot. Yes. Okay. Now let me start the robot. Yes. You can see here there is a delay is happening between point 4 and 5. Then there is another delay between point 8 and 9. So the program is running continuously for the repeat mode. So this is how we can make the simple teaching of the robot, and we can simulate the same thing. So like that we can simulate all the robots. Even we can take the conveyor system in this model. The same way we can tell the robot to pick and place the objects. So that is also possible here. So here I show not only a simple robot programming here. Yes. Now I'm stopping the
Okay,
simulation.
Jagdishan. Yeah, thanks Jagdishan for this part. In the background, you show the PLC part. You restart and do it. And I think Mr. Chandramouli, yes, as you mentioned, we should look into start with question answers parallelly. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Harish. Well. I see the text box. There's only one question from my side, but I'm waiting for the questions from the audience. I can see one from Mr. Ashwath. Can you please elaborate on CIROS and FluidSim training locations? Whether the training is happening in Mumbai or Ahmedabad?
Okay. CIROS and FluidSim both are simulation software, so it is absolutely location independent. You know, wherever a computer is there, this can operate. That on the lighter side, of course. On the side.
In the corona world, anything is possible from anywhere. So there is a remote training. I'm very happy that today we had the simulation software training, because the first thing we can attack during the corona and the post-corona revival is knowledge sharing on the one hand and experience sharing on the other hand, and simulation bridges between the knowledge and the experience. Absolutely. Other day, one of my colleagues, I asked him to conduct a webinar. He said, why don't you send some engineers to come to our factory? It's open. I said, look, to send 20 engineers to the factory versus 200 people listening to the interactive webinar, the benefit goes to 10 times the number of people. So I think the corona has taught us. The answer to Ashwath's question is not only Ahmedabad, Mumbai, it can be done anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. And the other day I joined a Festo webinar from Germany, and I was so shocked. The electrical engineering completely is taught by the interactive method. Electrical engineering, even technician level, how to connect a motor, how to connect a switch gear, so on and so forth, is taught through the interactive process, simulation, as well as on the interactive training from Germany. And people can log in, and some of them are free programs, some are elaborate programs, are chargeable. Anyway, so I think Ashwath's question is well answered. It's a good question, because similar thought come from anybody else.
Yes.
Before other questions come in, I want to fill up with some questions on my side. In a batch of simulation training of a FluidSim or a CIROS, how many trainees can be accommodated maximum in a batch?
With this, normally what we do is, I would say now before the pandemic part, we are always willing to or suggesting to work in a team when anything to do with technical training or mechatronics or such topics, because the shop floor is always working in a team. So we were saying one computer station, 2 students to work together, so that what practical part is there with the hardware, same thing they can do in the simulation form. But ideally in today's part, it would be one person per system. If they work, that would be good. And also from Festo side, to support in this difficult times, we are making Syros software available to the we can discuss with faculty members of different institutes, or even from professionals from industry, and also students, if they would like to use Syros software. We would be happy to interact with them and offer a license for that, till July, to say so, that they can really work. And we can also
You
create
mean to
some
say
online
free
training
of cost?
programs.
Free of
Yes,
cost?
free of cost. Yeah,
Wow,
without cost.
wow.
Yes.
I think 44 people are clapping their hands. Excellent. Now, how about Fluid Sim software till July?
Fluid Sim software is also available, but that's a little bit in a demo form. So of course you get all the functionalities and other things to work. So for training, that's just perfectly fine. Only thing, you cannot save your models. That's the only thing.
That's okay.
Otherwise,
That's
it becomes perfect.
No, it's okay. To begin with, in June and July, what you're saying,
Yes.
Mr. Harish, is both Fluid Sim and Syros are available for educational purposes
Yes.
and may not be for, let's say, business purposes. I understood.
For even for
And,
business, we can see how they can use for learning. Definitely, we can create an
Correct.
environment for that. Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, again, educational, the models cannot be stored, for example.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Now, the main point is, if in a remote training method, how
Yes.
many people can join in a particular course? Suppose there is a simulation training by Sendil or Jagdish, and let us say in a detailed 2-hour workshop on Syros and 2-hour workshop on, let's say, on Fluid Sim. How
Yes.
many people can connect anywhere in the world? Is it limitless?
I can say limitless, because it would be more on the platform that we use, so something like GoToMeeting that we can use, we can easily do 100, 200. If you want to make it more interactive, then we can
More
have
interactive.
a little.
I need the interactive, very interactive.
Yes. Then it a little shorter group is okay, because way it is, we can ask participants to, for example, use Fluid Sim to create the schematics themselves. We can ask participants to write their program themselves. So this can be really a task that they are doing together, for example. Yeah. And those
So
kind
what
of
you're
things,
saying is-
batches of 20, 30 are good, because then you can at least give time for everybody.
So if you're saying it's an interactive process with some projects, then
Yes.
we can have at least 20 people. Yeah.
Yeah. That is how we handle in our classrooms, and that is how we can handle in the best way
Correct.
online.
Only thing is, in remote,
Yes.
the classroom environment has got a very, very dynamic interaction between candidates as well as the instructor. In a
Yes.
remote, the discipline of question, when suppose somebody is asking a question
Yes.
or a doubt, they have to
Yes.
ask one at a time. Otherwise, there will be a
Yes.
chaos in the communication.
Right.
Maybe you can think through it and then let us know.
Sure.
Second point is, how many topics are available in these two tools totally? Training topics.
Training topics, I would say, is limitless in a way. If we go into Syros, if we see on a very broader part, we do it on a PLC, we do it on a robot, we do it on a mobile robot. And then we can really go into details to start with just the absolute fundamental PLC, using just what Jagdishan was trying to show, just putting making a start button or a reset button to work. From that, it could be a complete system working. Then we can combine two stations together and make them work. And if we go into very detail, because of time we could not show, we can have a entire plant where there are 25-30 different programs that can work. Yeah. So it is what we can design is based on the time available, based on the students' needs
So
and competencies. Yeah.
So what you're saying is basically based on the application of a given customer,
Yes.
you can design multiple training topics.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. With covering, robots, different robots, even as I said, mobile robots. When we go to Fluid Sim, it could be just the pneumatic part. We take it to hydraulics. We take it to even electrical simulation, and so it's based on the need of the customer that we design a program.
Because I heard Sendil talking about 150 modules in Syros.
Yes.
How many such modules in Fluid Sim?
Okay. See, in Syros, we talk of modules available from our side, so that students can start working and program it that way, because it's a tool to program. that way. For Fluid Sim, it's a tool to draw schematics, so and
Understood.
simulate. Yeah, so they can do unless, but Fluid Sim is connected to a lot of our teaching hardwares that we have, and then in that also the schematics, you would see it would run into hundreds, or I would say even in thousands, what would be available, and
Correct.
they can really learn from
So
it.
what you're saying is Fluid Sim is both for pneumatics and hydraulics. Yeah.
Pneumatics, hydraulics, and also the electrics that way. Yeah.
Electrics. Oh, very good. Now, what is the minimum educational qualification to join a Fluid Sim or Cirrus training? Is it identical or it is different?
Should say Fluid Sim is more fundamental in terms of beginning right from the schematic itself. Yeah, and in terms of anybody working with Fluid Sim, he's well versed, for example, with absolute very basic of the computer side and a very basic fundamental on the pneumatic technology. So he understands the symbol, he understands what is valve, he understands what is cylinder, and then he has a need to have the cylinder actuated, to have the cylinder
So what you're
perform.
saying is even an ITA can enroll, or even a 12th standard school can enroll?
Yes, ITI
Or it's a
definitely,
graduate
because
engineer?
no, even 12, but a 12 student definitely would need a pre-information at least on the symbols and the working of the pneumatic as a technology. Yeah.
So a diploma
But
holder ITA will be okay
yeah,
to
sure.
join this course.
Yes. See, the thing is, we don't say Cirrus as a course or a Fluid Sim as a course that way. Yeah. So these are the tools to use for the best learning. The best learning in terms of fundamentals of automation, starting from basic standalone technologies of, say, pneumatics, hydraulics, electrics, what we can do with Fluid Sim, and then going to the next level of automation technology where all are integrated together, and that's how we use Cirrus. If we want to run the robotics as a technology, then we again use Cirrus, for example. So it would be covering a complete length and breadth of the industry for in terms of automation.
How about CNC machines? Can they be simulated by these softwares, or you have any other software for that?
No, we don't have a software for CNC simulation.
Very good. Very good.
That would come more from CNC manufacturers like Fanuc or Mitsubishi. Yeah, they would have such tools.
There is a specific good question from Surya Kumar Shivakumar. He is saying that technically cylinder and valve are taken from pre-designed library method.
Yeah.
Is it possible to redesign the dimensions of cylinder and valves? I think very, very technical question.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a library, and things are available to make it also in terms of the ISO standards and other part. But as Sendil mentioned, any rating of the cylinder available in the market is what you can insert as a dimension or a parameter, part of it, and then you have a simulation based on the design that you have put inside. Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. That's a good answer. One Kavirasan from Sona College asking a question which is more direct business, so I would not mention it, but I will pass on this question. He is talking about something which you already supplied him. On that, he is talking about some upgradation. So that's a business
Sure.
question. We will talk offline on that.
Sure.
The people are still thinking what to ask. Still 42 people are listening to us. So on the benefit of others, I will ask one more question. What is the minimum hardware requirement to install in the simulation softwares? For installing the simulation softwares?
Yeah, good.
What is the minimum hardware requirement?
Yes, so it goes in terms of, if you see Fluid Sim is more schematic and also the requirement would be less. And in terms of Cirrus, you saw there are a lot of 3D models and other part. So that's the reason it would be a little better tool available would be good. Okay. And I would say 4 GB RAM today is quite common to say so that's normally good enough. But for Cirrus, an additional graphic card of around 2 GB, that would be good. Then you have little more proper simulations. But to be honest, we don't see these things as so much as a limitation. Of course, the user experience may a little bit vary with the right or a better system, but it would not limit so much in terms of working.
No, it's also very important to know this in the remote training method.
Yes.
Because our Jagadish himself had a difficulty on his computer today.
Yes.
So we need to revisit these points, not for a classroom environment, but in a remote training environment.
Yes.
For example, I am able to conduct webinar from my home because I have a LAN connection with 100 Mbps. The moment I remove the LAN, it drops to 50 Mbps.
Right.
So the speed of the digital speed in our homes and all,
Yes.
and thanks to Corona, you know, many of the large organizations like TCS and all are declaring that working out of
Yes.
home will be the new norm.
Yes.
Working out of home will be the new norm in the next 5 years. So even Facebook and Google have announced that even if they want to work till 2021, the employees can work from home.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So notwithstanding the difficulties otherwise on the domestic side,
Yes.
even IT
Yes.
side we must rethink. And I think if you could get some information on that from Germany, in the remote training, what are the minimum hardware requirements?
Yes.
You
As
can
I
post
said,
it on your on the blog.
Sure. We can do it. Surely. Sure.
Now, Nirbhay Srivastava is a Secretary General of Capital Goods Council, I think. He asked a question, where can we access all this information? I mean, the preliminary information, which are required for educational institutions and training institutions to be installed. Is it available in your website?
Absolutely. The complete details available to me on the website. And then
That is the festo-didactic, right?
yes, festo-didactic.com. Yeah.
Because when we go to the festo.com,
Yes.
sometimes it doesn't migrate to the didactic.com. You may like to keep a link for that.
Yes.
Then Muniraju from Avon Data Cables is asking, how about learning individually for knowledge upgradation? Just a knowledge upgradation, not for any specific purposes.
Yes.
How to learn individually for knowledge upgradation? Is there any courses which they can enroll through YouTube or whatever it is?
Yes, see, currently what we were doing is we have a training calendar. So we are running the courses in our training centers, which is in Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, Pune, Ahmedabad, and Noida. But in the current situation, yes, there is a request to offer courses online. That way, you can just write to us, and as soon as we have a program of your interest, we definitely share with you that you can join. And we will definitely have some online programs, no doubt about it, in the current environment, not only as a need that you have expressed from your side, which we are thankful for, but also as a support to the society per se.
Now, I think while 100 people registered, only 40-50 people joined. May I request Festo to permit these recordings to be launched immediately by BCIC for those who at least registered and who could not join, and also those who joined. So that they can understand, what is the concept of simulation, what is the concept of software simulation for fluidics, and what is the concept of software simulation for PLC in general. And it will be helpful for them to formulate the thoughts. And one more question has popped up from Makino Selvaraju. Are you teaching robo gripper design for various payloads of components? That's a mechanical engineering.
Yes. No, it's part of it. Of course, yes. When we do fundamental trainings, we do cover this aspect as we would do into a pneumatic or hydraulic design. But of course, as a standard program that we have, we don't have a published program on robot in terms of complete things related to robot. It is more related to the working and the robot programming that we have in terms of Syros. But in terms of fundamental part, these are the things always talked about by the trainer when they talk about any technical component that they're using for teaching. We may not go into so much details of gripper design per se, but when we show it into the software, different kind of grippers and that's are available, they are definitely touched upon.
So with your permission, can I, since more questions might be coming on afterthought, now it's already 12:45. If Bangalore Chamber has no problem, we can continue the questions for another 5-10 minutes. Otherwise, can I post your email ID, Mr. Harish, to the audience here?
Yes, please, surely.
I have just done that. I have done the posting of the Festo Didactic website and posting of your mail. And Muniraju is popping one more question. Where to approach for automation requirements for the industry? I think it is a question which we have to ask the many faculty. Mr. Muniraju, if he is listening, I can answer him this question. Please subscribe to Automation Association of India. Go to the website Automation Association of India, and there are many blogs. That's where you will get the automation requirements for the industry. It's a very generic, and there are leaders in the industry called Titan Automation, which is and the Pori Automation. But they are in the large corporations. There are many small-time automation companies, low-cost automation. It's a big subject. I think Muniraj's question is not to be answered only by a simulation expert or a pneumatic expert or a hydraulic expert like Festo. But in general, suffice to say, it's a pyramid of automation, starting with pneumatics and hydraulics, mechatronics, going to assembly automation, machining automation, and automation systems, which are used in engineering industry, food and beverage industry. There are two groups of automation, Mr. Muniraju. One is called the factory automation, which covers the discrete manufacturing of components and assemblies, and another called the process automation, which talks in terms of liquids and gases process industry, like what happened in Vizag and Neyveli, process automation, which blasted into safety regulations. So Mr. Muniraju from Avant Data Cables is very curious to get into the knowledge base of automation industry. I'm sure many of the students who are joined today will be very highly benefited, in my opinion, to specialize into automation, and on top of that, digitalized automation. Automation in Industry 3.0, ladies and gentlemen, is without the internet connectivity, whereas automation in Industry 4.0 is with the internet connectivity. So the basic difference between automation in general and automation with digital transformation is the coming in of the internet, what is called the industrial internet of things, which is going to have a major bearing even in the simulation industry. So for example, Mr. Nachnani will say after the simulation model is generated, it can be automatically picked up through the cloud and through a device which can be loaded onto the equipment like a robo or the machine tool or the assembly line. I'm sure Festo is working on that, and or it's already available. So automation through internet enabled automation is another big subject for training program as well as in implementation in factories. Thank you, Mr. Muniraju, for the provocating question. Surya Kumar is asking, is it possible to import our newly designed robots for simulations? Newly designed robots for simulations.
Yeah, we can import models. We can import models into Cirrus, yeah, and make them intelligent. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You mean the models? Okay. I got it. Okay. I thought he's talking importing an equipment which is not a friend of Mr. Prime Minister Modi. He wants everything local. So yeah, Festo is last 40 years. Festo has been a local company manufacturing local products, local software. In fact, they supply the software to Germany. So I think the local is achieved by them 40-50 years back, and they are the leaders in the industry. It's a good question by Mr. Surya Kumar. Ganapati Bhatta is asking, oh, he's just thanking us. Oh, great, Mr. Ganapati. Thank you, sir. Now it's 12:49. Still 40 people are very curious to know what else they can ask or what else we can tell them.
Yeah. I think we did not complete PLC simulation. If they want to see, we can still show them that way. No, what Jagdishan's PC had a problem. We can show them.
My suggestion is what we can do, Mr. Harish, after Prithvi sends that linked program of the webinar, if you could send a small animation clipping of that PLC software,
sure,
we can attach it to that so that we can save some time. I think Q&A is very important.
Sure. Perfectly done. Yeah.
Because common knowledge of 40 people.
Yeah.
Being a technical subject, I think this is the right group of batch 40 people.
Yes.
Because the managers would leave it to their engineers, and it's very important for the engineers to strengthen their knowledge and experience in this area. As I mentioned in the earlier Capital Goods Council presentation, there are 20 job roles at the least 20 job roles being developed, and you could see the two top ones are factory automation and predictive maintenance. Both have got a great impact from simulation softwares and mechatronics like pneumatic, hydraulic, and there are other job roles getting designed and Capital Goods Skill Council is planning to deliver all the standards and training programs on a public domain very soon. And there'll be a series of webinars by the Capital Goods Skill Council in the next 6 months. Some of them could be awareness workshops, some of them could be training workshops, where we would invite definitely leaders in the industry like Festo. Thank you, Mr. Harish, for supporting us. And the other day I was talking to the director of Aerospace Aviation Skill Council. He was also saying, yes, we need to start remote training, because simulation is extremely important in aeronautical industry, which has got a lot of avionics, fluidics and whatnot. The aircraft which are grounded now across the world, I hope they are going to carefully check whether all the ailerons and other devices are working, where the hydraulics are involved. Maybe some simulation will help them to restart all the aircrafts. One question from Mr. Selvaraju. Robo and CNC machine interface. Is it possible to do a handshake signal by Festo through simulation? What is IR? I don't understand. What is IR?
I think he
Maybe
means the industrial robot. Okay, infrared. Or using tables.
Infrared.
Yeah.
Infrared.
Yeah.
Infrared.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what we have with Cirrus is in terms of simulation, we don't have in terms of programming CNC, but with robot, whatever is external to be interface, it's really possible to do it. We can also have, for example, a human interface. We can have a human working together, and then if we use the normal standard, I think the language is called IRL, the industrial robot language that way, and through that we can interface the external.
And maybe with my limited knowledge of IoT, may I venture into another answer also? If the sensors can be used to pick up the data at the edge level from what the simulations output. In other words, output of the simulation becomes the input through the cloud or through a server process, right? On-premise server or through a cloud, and gets into the physical equipment like CNC machine or robo. Isn't it the concept of cyber physical systems, Mr. Harish?
Yeah.
So I think we don't even need an infrared or a cable. We are talking about the Internet of Things, the modern era.
Yeah.
So that will be my limited answer to Selvaraju, but I think it requires a very detailed research to connect the simulations output to the input of the devices. As we say, the things are the devices, robo and CNC machines. And the internet is the bridging between, on the one hand, through the Cirrus and Fluid Sim, on the other hand, to the robo and CNC machine. The days have gone when we need these IR devices, infrared devices. Well, Mr. Venkatraman is asking, how is the job opportunity for students in future-related robotics? Wow, Mr. Harish.
Yes. What we say from Festo side is to prepare students cross-sectionally. Yeah. When we say cross-sectionally, it is in two terms cross-sectionally. One is in terms of technologies. So just not the robotic as a technology, but we say in terms of what we say pyramids of automation. So we say the fundamentals, the basics of standalone technologies. So he should be aware of, say, in terms of technologies like PLC. He should be aware in terms of like robotics, as you mentioned. Similarly, he should be aware in terms of technologies like sensorics. He should be aware about pneumatics, hydraulics, and then he basically has to apply it all together. Because robots also, if we really see in the shop floor, don't work standalone. They work or they are automated together in a system, in a process. Yeah. And then if a student is prepared cross-sectionally about different technologies, then he's able to handle different aspect of it, including the robotic part. And the other part of cross-sectional, I mean, is also cross-sectionally in terms of industry. So not looking at robot just working onto, say, automotive shop floor, because robot could also be there in a food and beverage industry in terms of packaging or other aspect. For example, and if we really see, if there is a maintenance task whether it's in a food and beverage industry or on an automotive industry, 50-60% of the technology is the same. Yeah. So if a student is prepared cross-sectionally in terms of industry and cross-sectionally in terms of industry applications, definitely he is open to have better and more opportunities, to say so.
Maybe I can add to this knowledge of what we are talking in the COVID situation. When I was doing the research on how to survive and revive from the COVID, I realized due to the one factor called social distancing, one single factor called social distancing, ladies and gentlemen, the number of employees who will be asked to come back will be not more than 50% of their previous employment, especially in the engineering industry. I know my friends in the aerospace industry, even the defense aerospace industry, which have picked up very fast in Bangalore, only 50% of the employees have joined back. Not because the employees could not come to the work, but also it's an opportunity for bringing in automation. If the two employees are sitting next to each other with a distance of 1 feet, now if they are to sit at the distance of 3 feet minimum, as per social distancing, you can imagine the shop floor capacity to occupy employees is coming down by 1/3. Even if you go vertically, only in some smaller assembly lines, if people can use vertical space. Heavy duty equipments like robots and machine tools are going to be in the horizontal space. So the days have come, whether we like it or not, it is the days of automation, and many workshops are going on in the country, webinars. Even BCIC did a webinar a couple of days back on cyber physical automation by BFW subsidiary M2 Next. The concept here is the automation now is becoming mandatory. It is not anymore a nice to have. Industry 4.0 was nice to have in 2019, and now it is must have. So students who specialize in not only robotics and automation, but also in industrial Internet of Things, namely digital manufacturing solutions, will be hotcakes in terms of their salary levels, in terms of their acceptance by the industry, and in the manufacturing industry as well as in service sector, the level of automation will explode in the next 2 to 3 years. For example, in service industry, there is something called RPA, robotic process automation. RPA, that is not physical robots. These are the cyber robots, like the chat box we have in some of our airline and other things. The robotic process automation has replaced 25 tasks in a German factory recently. That webinar presentation is there in the LinkedIn of myself, A.N. Chandramouli. You all can have a look at it. 25 tasks, including design, including remote maintenance, including logistics, warehouse, stores, finance, HR, so on and so forth, and training can all be done by remote control. That means 40 to 50% of the people who are going to factory in buses, they can support them from homes. So remote working and robotic process automation are two sides of the same coin, and job opportunity for the students is enormous in my opinion. Thank you for the question. Now it is 1 o'clock. I think many people will be hungry. I'm sure Harish and Sendil and Jagdish will be very hungry. I'm sure the other 32 people on the forum are very hungry for knowledge. Either you got a thought for the food or you got a food for the thought. I don't know. And I can assure you, this kind of webinars are really thought-provoking. I thank Mr. Harish Nachnani and his team. I thank Prithvi, Rupa and the team of Bangalore Chamber, the President, Senior Vice President and Vice President of Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce. I thank the Chairman and the COO of Capital Goods Skill Council, Mr. Sunil Chaturvedi and Ms. Shalini Singh, who are also listening to us. I think Nirbhay has logged in. Nirbhay, thank you so much for supporting from the Capital Goods Council. When more and more such programs are going to be announced, from June, July onwards. Please watch the space, and you will find many interesting and knowledge sharing concepts and hands-on programs. Hands-on programs are going to be very productive for you all. Before I close, I want to mention that the next webinar is on 28th of May. It is a free session by RV College of Engineering, who has created 6,000 programs and covered 4,500 students in the last 3 months, or maybe other way around, 4,500 programs for 6,000 students. I forgot. And the principal of RV College of Engineering, which is a renowned college in the country and the world, is himself going to make a presentation webinar at 11 o'clock on 28th of May, and that will answer and open up more questions in the academic world. I request not only the academic world but also the training partners like Makino Technical Training Center, Festo Technical Training Center, and so on and so forth, to carefully join that presentation. It is about hybrid educational model. Thanks to the corona, it is accelerated. Earlier it was a nice thing to have, now it is must have. Thank you so much. Look forward to meeting at least 250 people on that webinar on 28th of May, because students are not going to work. The colleges are closed. They can connect their laptops with 100 Mbps minimum. Mr. Harish, thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I close the webinar with this note. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you. Yeah.